Our headliner for tonight, Charbonneau!
Charbonneau!
And we're going to start our rest afterwards. All you got to do is bring 6 people to the bar. You too can be a headliner. Apparently you don't even have to be funny. Aww. Alright, Magic Johnson. This is so dated. Magic Johnson, right? Only guy to get AIDS and then have it cured named Magic Johnson? Is that a fucking coincidence?
You like it?
I got a really great list of hilarious shit here. If you open a pack of Velveeta singles or whatever fucking shitty cheese, it'll say processed cheese food product. I was under the assumption it was cheese, and when you add the word food, like cheese is within the circle of food, I assume if it's cheese, it is food. When you insist on telling me it's food, it makes me fucking nervous. Right? Like, you don't have to convince me that cheese is food. I grew up understanding that. And then I thought, maybe it's what you feed cheese to make cheese grow up big and strong. Like cat food is for cats, cheese food is for cheese. Well, they have those little baby bells. They're like the veal of cheese. Caught in that net. Laugh it up, jerks. So I'm at this Coney Island with my brother-in-law. Give it up for my brother-in-law. So I'm at this Coney Island, and I had a couple of Coney dogs and some fries. There was some left over, like half of a hot dog and a few fries left over. And the waitress comes by, and she says, "You want a box for that?" And I was like, "Look, sweetheart, if you're going to fight a grown man over half a hot dog, you can just have it." Want a box for that? All right, worst musical faux pas. I'll give you 3 choices. Katrina and the Waves playing in New Orleans at all. ZZ Top playing legs at the opening ceremonies of the Paralympics. Or Tom Petty closing with Refugee in Darfur. See, they're all refugees in Darfur. They do have to live like a refugee. If you'll enjoy this. Indian women wear saris. It's that huge, full body wrap, and I'm sure they're expensive and probably handmade. There you go. So I thought, the economy stuff, let's open a used sari shop where you could trade them in. Right? You could trade yours in and get another one, etc. But I bet a place like that's going to need a pretty clever name to get off the ground. Who's sorry now? Thank you very much. That girl thought it was funny. Similarly, a lot of medical procedures nowadays are sort of outpatient. You can go in, you get it done, you get out. And I feel like the next obvious step is medical procedures that you just do at home yourself. Like you go to Walmart, you get the whole kit, has the scalpel and all the gauze and shit you need, and a DVD, maybe a mirror, depending on where you're working, and it tells you everything you need to do. But something like that to sell is probably going to have a pretty clever name. Suit yourself. So that's a name for a stitch. Look it up at home. So I work at a bar, and I get off of work, I cook, and I get off of work to go up to the bar to get a drink, and our bartender, Sam, who does happen to be a black guy, it's only important because it's part of the story, he's down at the other end of the bar. And so I'm standing there, we got like 6 TVs, and I'm standing there watching TV, and I'm looking up at it, and I've got a pretty fucking concerned face on when he walks over. And I order a beer, and then I go, "Sam, I don't know what this fucking movie is, but their portrayal of African Americans is offensive." And he turns around, and he looks at the TV, looks back at me, and he goes, "It's Planet of the Apes." And I was like, thank fucking God, because that seems super racist. Turns out it wasn't. You guys heard about corduroy pillows?
Yeah.
They're making headlines. If you slept on it and then you woke up. I'm losing my one fan over here. This is not going very well. Anybody see you guys are on Facebook? Clap if you've heard of fucking Facebook. All right.
I love that.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Why I exist.
You'd think I had more friends than this based on my Facebook friend. There was recently a picture that went around that was pretty popular. It was a picture of an Oreo. I guess it could have been a Hydrox, but who eats those? An Oreo unscrewed, right? It's a terrible name for a cookie. Sounds like a fucking boner pill or something. Anyway, unscrewed, right? And in the cream filling, just smashed into the cream filling, a spider. And everyone was like, oh, I'm never eating Oreos again, or I'm always unscrewing my Oreos first. I thought, well, two things. What if it's on the other side of the cream? Like, how you can't, you're really going to have to work that. That's really doubling up your workload on Oreo eating. I figure, fuck it, I'm just resigning myself to the fact that I eat more spider than I thought. Like, what is there, one spider in every 1,000 Oreos, maybe? How many more 1,000 Oreos am I going to eat in a lifetime? Let's go with 3,000 more Oreos. 3 more spiders? If my doctor told me to stop eating spider, that would not be the thing I cut out of my diet. I'd start sleeping with my mouth closed, probably. You guys remember that song, Who Let the Dogs Out?
Yeah.
You're a big fan of that, eh? It's a good song. This story happened right at the height of that song's popularity. I was living in a house with like 6 other people. We had 2 dogs, and then we were dog watching for a friend who had 2 dogs. So I'm not good at math, but that's 4 dogs. And then my girlfriend, who would become my wife, would become my ex-wife. Ladies and single. Yes, thank you for ex-wife. She was out of town. So I get up in the morning, and I was talking to her on the phone, and she asked, were the dogs good? Because the visiting dogs would get all up in the trash, and then once the dogs are in it, they're just eating the trash, which is whatever. So she asked, were the dogs good? And I get this idea in my head. I go, yeah, they were good. But something weird happened. When I came downstairs, everyone else in the house was still asleep. But the dogs were all outside. She pauses for a second. She goes, really? Well then, who let the dogs out? And I go, who? And there's another pause. And she's like, you asshole! I can't believe you made me say, who let the dogs out? Making someone say underwear. That's child's play. Anybody with a terrible tattoo in the audience? Good for you. Terrible tattoos are terrible. I go on the internet looking for terrible tattoos. It makes me angry. I don't know what I'm looking for. But there's a lot of terrible tattoos. My favorite terrible tattoo, it's on a woman's chest. It's the number sign, right? Pound sign 1. Dick Sucka. S-U-C-K-A, right? And then it's a fucking cock, balls, even like hairy stubble on the balls. Number 1 Dick Sucka. What fucking bet did you lose that you had to get that tattoo? Number 1 Dick Sucka? I'm sorry to break this to you. That's just something we tell you so you'll do it again. You're probably not really the number 1 Dick Sucka. Do you think she paid cash for that tattoo? I feel like that tattoo was not paid for with cash. And when you get a tattoo of that caliber, you are discounting yourself from a certain amount of jobs, right? Like, because I was going to say it came up to here, but that'd be tacky, wouldn't it? But you have to wear like a turtleneck. I don't know why you would get that. And God forbid anyone else has that too. Another woman or guy at Ferndale has that tattoo. Because if they run into each other, like, round up some cocks. This is a suck-off, right? 2 number 1 dick suckers enter, 1 number 1 dick sucker leaves. I think that's how that has to happen. Anybody ever heard of The Stranger? Was it my time already? The Stranger, right? Where you sit on your hand and make it fall asleep, and then you jack off. And it's like somebody else giving you a hand job because your hand is asleep. Some fans in the back. I'm working on something else. It's the reverse Stranger. That's where you make your dick fall asleep, and then it's like you're giving somebody else a hand job. Still working on that. Not that joke. That joke is done. You hear about that restaurant that only hired midgets? They were short order cooks. They had low overhead though. Come on, these are right up your fucking alley.
That's fine. That's good shit.
Actually, they paid them all under the table. All right, I will finish with that. Thanks for tolerating us. Give yourselves a round of applause for pretending to give a shit. And there's more entertainment on the way, so don't go anywhere. Thank you and good night.
Give it up for Jay Charbonneau. Make sure you drink and drive and have unprotected sex, and if you want to do that, stick around for the music show afterwards.